All right, then, let me go. John got up and put his back against the door. I expect you're right, he said slowly, but I want to think it over. She could see that he was seething with feelings he wanted to express, but she did not mean to help him. She hated herself at this moment, and almost hated him. Why had she to do all the work to secure their love? It wasn't fair. And then she saw his eyes, adoring and distressed. Don't look like that. I only don't want to lose you, John. You can't lose me so long as you want me. Oh, yes, I can. John put his hands on her shoulders. Fleur, do you know anything you haven't told me? It was the point-blank question she had dreaded. She looked straight at him and answered, No. She had burnt her boats, but what did it matter if she got him? He would forgive her. And throwing her arms round his neck, she kissed him on the lips. She was winning. She felt it in the beating of his heart against her, in the closing of his eyes. I want to make sure. I want to make sure, she whispered. Promise. John did not answer. His face had the stillness of extreme trouble. At last he said, It's like hitting them. I must think a little, Fleur. I really must. Fleur slipped out of his arms. Oh, very well. And suddenly she burst into tears of disappointment, shame, and overstrain. Followed 5 minutes of acute misery. John's remorse and tenderness knew no bounds, but he did not promise. Despite her will to cry, Very well, then, if you don't love me enough, good-bye, she dared not. From birth accustomed to her own way, this check from one so young, so tender, so devoted, baffled and surprised her. She wanted to push him away from her, to try what anger and coldness would do. And again she dared not. The knowledge that she was scheming to rush him blindfold into the irrevocable weakened everything, weakened the sincerity of pique and the sincerity of passion. Even her kisses had not the lure she wished for them. That stormy little meeting ended inconclusively. Will you some tea, Nargis and Fräulein? Pushing John from her, she cried out, No, 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 thank you. I'm just going. And before he could prevent her, she was gone. She went stealthily, mopping her gushed, stained cheeks, frightened, angry, very miserable. She had stirred up John so fearfully, yet nothing definite was promised or arranged. But the more uncertain and hazardous the future, the more the will to have worked its tentacles into the flesh of her heart, like some burrowing tick. No one was at Green Street. Winifred had gone with Imogen to see a play, which some said was allegorical, and others, very exciting, don't you know. It was because of what others said that Winifred and Imogen had gone. Fleur went on to Paddington. Through the carriage the air from the brick kilns of West Drayton and the late hay-fields fanned her still gushed cheeks. Flowers had seemed to be had for the picking. Now they were all thorned and prickled. But the golden flower within the crown of spikes seemed to her tenacious spirit all the fairer and more desirable. End of Part 2, Chapter 8. Recording by Simon Evers.